Erica, this is going to age me big time, but I'm desperately seeking Susan.
I remember that
Remember
movie.
that? Yeah, Susan RN is who I'm looking for. Thank you so much, Susan, for becoming our newest patron supporter of Nurses
What
Uncorked
up,
podcast.
Susan?
Yeah,
Welcome. Thank you for helping support us. We have a lot of expenses with this podcast, so a little bit goes a long way. I just had to buy a new mic, for example. So thank you to all of our patrons.
if you'd like to learn how to support the podcast, the link is in the description of this podcast. I'm Nurse Jessica Seitz, along with Nurse Erica. We're Nurses Uncorked, the podcast that takes nursing facts with nursing comedy and makes a little cocktail out of it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nurses Uncorked. This is Nurse Jessica coming at you with Nurse Erica, as always. And this week we have a guest with us. We love having guests. We have Sarah Johnson, a registered nurse, with us. Welcome, Sarah.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I want to.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
I'm happy you're here. I love your smiling face. If you guys are just listening to this, you need to check out the visual. She's got such a pretty smile. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on.
Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah,
and you can watch the video now on Spotify because Nurse Jessica worked her voodoo magic. So now you can watch the actual
I
video on
did.
Spotify.
Yeah. So you can, if you want to see our faces, you sure can. So I want to preface this podcast first by saying I am not the most knowledgeable about the topic that we're going to get into. I will be the first to say that. I from Florida, not a huge union area. I'm learning as I go. So Erica is the one with all the knowledge, and obviously, so that kind of segues into what Sarah's doing here on the podcast. But I'm just prefacing that I'm going to learn as maybe some of our listeners will be learning too. So, Sarah, I'll tell you guys a little bit about the reason Sarah's here, and then we're going to cut loose a little bit and drink a little cocktail, and then we'll get into some more stuff. But like I was saying, Sarah Johnson is a registered nurse, and she works for a facility that's a mouthful. Here, I'm going to say Sarah works for Corewell Health, Williams Beaumont University Hospital in Michigan. How did I do, Sarah? How was that?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's a mouthful for sure.
I could answer the phone there. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
Welcome to Corewell Health, William Beaumont University Hospital. This is Jessica. How can I help you? That was good.
It's good. It's good.
Yes. So Sarah reached out to us maybe a couple weeks ago or a week ago, something to that effect, and is in the process of organizing a union and wanted to talk with us a little bit about it. And I thought it'd be a great idea, and Erica did too. We're going to talk about union busting and union things and how things get organized, disorganized, all the hoopla that goes along with it. So before we talk all those details, let's have a drink.
So
what you got?
This week we are having a drink that I have dubbed the Union Buster.
Ooh.
You may know it as a whiskey sour, but because it's so sour, I thought it would be aptly named the Union Buster. All right. So we have 2 parts whiskey. Okay. So I'm going to pour this out here. Now, what are the things called that you mix drinks in that you like shake it?
A
You
shaker.
know what I'm talking about?
It's a shaker.
Is it just called a shaker?
I think so.
I don't have one of those, so I'm using the magic bullet mixer thing to shake it up.
Magic bullet? Isn't that something else? Never mind.
Yes, don't go there. Okay, and then you need.
Sorry, I had to.
It's 2 parts whiskey, so I did that, and 1 part lemon juice.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's the sour.
You guys, you have to watch the video. Erica's pulled out her magic bullet here on Nurse.
Shut up. That's what it's called. It's like a little blender. I know what you're thinking of. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Hey, maybe that'll increase our viewership on YouTube.
1 part maple syrup. Okay.
Ooh.
So 2 parts whiskey, 1 part lemon juice, and 1 part maple syrup, and then you put it in a shaker, which I don't have, so we are substituting the little magic bullet. There it is. It's not what you think it is. And you shake it. You shake it.
That's a big magic bullet if I've ever seen one. Damn.
You shake it.
That could take you to another planet right there. Good Lord. Erica's gonna kill me. We're
You
gonna
are.
have to mark
I
this
am.
episode explicit for
Yeah.
sure.
And then you pour it over ice in your nurse's uncorked wine glass, but really in like
All
a
right.
highball glass. All
The
right.
Union Buster. Tell me how
Cheers,
it is.
ladies,
Cheers.
for
Cheers.
a
Cheers.
Union Buster.
I got my big drink margarita in it.
Yummy.
Oh, that's strong and sour. And sour. All right. Ergo,
Nice.
it's a Union Buster because it's sour. All right.
Okay.
Good one.
All right. So speaking of sour union busting, Erica, tell us, you're going to explain a little bit, what is union busting? What is this whole topic about? What are we discussing?
Yeah. So union busting is basically an attempt or multiple attempts by an employer to break and remove a trade union to secure a non-union workforce, right? They don't want a union workforce. Why? Because they know that it might cost them more and they might have to actually treat their employees properly, right? But we'll get into that. So this can take all sorts of different looks, and we'll get into that. But it can be prior to a union vote. It can also be a campaign to decertify a union when there's one already in place. It's a range of activities, some legal, some illegal, to prevent employees from exercising what is your legal right to unionize. And union busting has been going on for well over 150 years, waging everywhere from subtle to aggressive union busting war, essentially, against workers. And what a union buster is a paid, that's important to point out, group of people hired by the company through, and they basically use intimidation and sometimes violence in the past to coerce, intimidate, and manipulate employees into not joining a union. They train managers and supervisors how to manipulate employees against unions. They teach them a script. And what I want everyone to take away from the term union buster is two things. It is an entire industry. There is an entire industry devoted to union busting, and they are paid. And they are not just paid, they are paid obscene amounts of money. Obscene, okay? And there's actually 3 points. They never call themselves union busters. They're never going to walk into your job and say, hey, I'm the union buster the place hired. They're going to call themselves, they're going to misrepresent themselves as governmental representatives or labor experts or attorneys or employment attorneys, or just they make up literal names. Make no mistake, they are getting paid obscene amounts of money and they are a union buster.
Where do I apply? No, I'm just kidding. I do not want to be a union buster, but damn, that must be nice to make that much money. Shoot.
It's a lot. It's like $3,500 a day, and they'll be there for months. I mean, it's different everywhere, but it's obscene. And they usually have multiple. Some places will have like 10 different union busters that they just keep paying these amounts to. It's insane.
So how do they introduce themselves? How do they say? I'm going to ask all the dumb questions today, okay? I'm going to be the dumb questioner. What do they say that they are? I'm Mark from
yeah. I just want to talk to you about your rights. We're concerned. We don't know what might happen to your benefits if the union comes in. Like, they're good. There's a reason they get paid that much. They are extremely good at manipulating people.
Is it like a mandatory team meeting? Like they'll be like, "Hey, we're having somebody come in and speak to you guys."
Captive audience meetings, and we'll get into that because I can only assume that you've probably had to deal with some of that. But I don't know, Sarah. Why don't we start with you telling us like why the nurses even want a union where you are? What's going on there? Allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly, of course.
Allegedly, we all say that.
Yeah. This is a great time for everyone to learn what's going on. So I don't think any questions are stupid, Jessica.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, everything you said is very true. We're already seeing it happen at Corewell. We've been trying to unionize since last October in 2023 with the Teamsters. This was something that we wanted to do basically because this merger that we had pushed us over the edge. Things were always a little rough there, especially, after COVID in 2020. But, nurses were very empathetic. We give people grace. We listen to their empty promises about what they're going to do for us and how they're going to make it better. And even with this merger that we had, they said that this is going to be great for us, that we're going to reap the benefits from it. And, there's a lot of uplifting about it, that it's going to be a great thing for us. Then we've slowly learned that it wasn't a good thing for us. In last August of 2023, they cut about 200 nursing positions. Not at the bedside. A lot of them were like leadership roles or educators. Actually, and I was one of the educators there that got cut due to budget cuts. They dissolved my job, and then what happens is another educator just has to take on the other unit. So now they're spread thin. So that's how it's been going with the assistant managers and the managers. And we don't have an issue with the ones on the unit that are helping us, but they're getting spread thin now too, because they are cutting them and they have to cover more than one unit now. So a few months later, we had another round of budget cuts come by. Another couple hundred nursing positions were cut. Along with just take since we've been officially under the merger as now Corewell. Every little thing is we're going to make things better, and then we wait, and then they'll tell us in like an email or something about the bereavement pay benefits has been taken back a little bit. So we're like, yeah, it's not giving us anything. What is that? So then we'll wait a little bit longer, and they'll say that, oh, our health insurance is going to be better because we're the merger now. And then open enrollment comes, and we find out that we're going to be paying a lot more for our health insurance. And this health insurance company, I mean, it's owned by the Spectrum Hospital, the hospital that joined with the hospital system I'm in Beaumont. Yeah. So just a lot of budget cutting going on.
Promises.
Yeah, and empty promises too. So
how do they present that to you guys? Like when they say we're getting rid of this amount of nurses, how do they phrase it? Like what's the reasoning? How do they make that sound good?
They don't. So I was blindsided by it. They didn't tell me, they don't let anybody know it happens. And then the second round, same thing. We didn't really know anything was happening going into it. Afterwards, they try to do like a blanket email to all the hospitals saying, sometimes hard decisions need to be made, but for the bigger picture, that this is going to be better for us. And just kind of telling us that we're so resilient and we're so strong if you just hang on a little longer. A lot of that, like
gaslighting.
Yeah, a lot of the you're just so strong and resilient. You guys are so creative and innovative. You can do anything,
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that going on, but it's after the fact. They're trying to boost it, boost the morale after all the budget cuts have happened.
So were you guys already short-staffed though? Were you already like kind of short-staffed where you were working prior to the merger, or?
Prior to the merger, I mean, yeah, we were short-staffed prior to the merger, and we still are short-staffed.
I'm sure.
So it is a problem that they're doing that. There's a lot of times, where the nurse to patient ratio is way higher than it should be, and they just brush it off that it's no big deal. Now we don't have the assistant managers and the leadership that are able to come out on the unit and help us, answer those call lights or change a bed or something like that, because we just don't have it anymore. We had clinical assistants that would sit at the nurse's desk to answer phones. That's no longer a thing. They removed those. So now the nurses also have to do that job too.
And every time a nurse is interrupted, the risk to the patient goes up exponentially. But by all means, let's make the nurses answer every incoming phone call.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, it kind of sucks there since the merger, and they have strategically, little by little, allegedly, kind of dwindled away at your benefits and working conditions. Would you say that's a good summary?
Okay. That would be a good summary. And yeah, they give us our market adjusted raises every year. So they gave us a 3% raise we feel like with inflation and everything else going on, that's really not it
It's
for
a
us. Like
pay
we need to
cut.
be compensated more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like we need to be able to have a better compensation for what we're doing because that 3% just wasn't it for us. And then they will do things where they divide and conquer us, where they'll give
Mm.
certain nurses little bonuses here and there, or even the
Mm.
raises. So when right now, I'm currently in the ambulatory role. I'm in the on campus, but I'm in the building next door to the hospital and I'm in the radiation oncology department there. So I do a lot of patient care. I'm starting IVs. We're preparing them to get treatment and all this stuff. And I'm seeing these patients every day come in for treatment. And, there's a lot to it. But because we're not, how did they say it? It was almost like because you're not forward facing or you're not at the bedside,
Right.
these raises are just for the bedside
Yeah.
nurses.
That's
And
common.
this is and it happened once they heard that we were unionizing, like once it was happening. Same with like the little bonuses they gave us. They said that we were going to get a large bonus if they did well this year. And they said we didn't do as well as we want, but we are going to give you guys, a little about a portion of the bonus. I think it was like 250, and that was also not for every nurse. You just have to find out if you got the money or not. So that's not.
That's
We don't think
awful.
that's fair. We
That's
think, yeah,
It's
we
awful.
not.
all work
And you
out.
could
Yeah,
never get away with that with a union in place. It would have to be equitable across the board. Yeah.
That's so
yeah,
mean.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
I mean,
So
like,
you
you're not
guys,
good enough. Your department wasn't good enough, or your position isn't grand enough to. That's just cruel. I don't. Oh, I don't like that.
I mean,
yeah,
the thing to remember is these are empty promises and things that they do, right? The only thing that's enforceable is a union contract or legislation, right? So they will do these things. They will say it's a stall tactic, like just give us time. We're going to give you this, or it'll temporarily get better, and they will give you a bit of a raise,
yeah,
and to kind of appease you to get you to drop out from supporting a union. But none of this is enforceable, and it nearly always goes away after every the dust settles.
Hmm.
So tell
yeah,
us what
yeah.
it's been like there since you guys started organizing.
Yeah, so it's been like good and bad. It's been bittersweet. It's been really great that to stand with all these nurses at all different campuses to fight for what we believe in is right. And you just see that like people are waking up and like this is enough. Like if we stand together, we will be stronger and we will be able to, form a union and actually work for what kind of contract we want. But then there's the bad side too, where as soon as there was whispers that we were unionizing, the organization was on top of it on what they wanted to do. They were saying, sending emails out about how they're going to listen about what concerns we have, that they're going to do town hall meetings. They just seemed like they were sending out a lot more emails about updates, like from leaderships, or they'll send out like cute little stories and they'll be like, hey, friends. And like, this is our president. And
They're
we just,
suddenly concerned and involved when they haven't been all along.
yes, yes. So it's just I've been seeing a lot more communication coming from leadership since this has happened, and they even said like we've heard your concerns. We know that you don't like the health insurance. We have a great surprise for you in 2025. It's going to be way better for us.
Sure, it is.
That they're gonna, yeah,
Yeah.
that they're gonna just
Empty
make it so.
promises.
Yeah, so but it's sad because there's a lot of nurses that are believing that. They think that oh, well, that's
Yeah.
great. They're gonna help us out. And then, we try to get the word out that we're unionizing. So like I said, there's 8 different hospitals, 9 if you're considering the one location where we do like corporate orientation. So we have been kind of doing a little bit of work over there too. But because there's so many of us at so many different hospitals, um, the best way that we've been getting the word out is doing what we call tabling or action days.
Mhm.
And that's where me or other nurse organizers will go out to the campus and pass out swag bags and information we made like these little flyers, for example, and put them in there, and they
You
have
with the I
QR
see it's the
codes and
Teamsters logo on there. I'm a big
yeah, yeah.
big fan of the Teamsters here.
So yeah, they might get like a little pin, in their little bag or something, like
Mhm.
some an information, and then we'll always put some treat in there or something because we joke around about how nurses are always hangry. So
Yeah.
that's what we would do. So we would, and we in the beginning we would start, and we'd be right in the hospital, like in the
Okay.
main area by we always have a Starbucks in ours or like by the cafeteria. They started walking us out from there.
Yeah,
They didn't like any
that's a common one.
non-employees. Yeah, they made it because it was non-employees in the area, our Teamster friends. So they said, they can't be in there. So they would walk them out with security and the director. And we actually started taking our action days outside, just so we could have the support from the Teamsters with us. It's great to have them there in case there's like a complicated question or concern, and they can speak for us, or as
Mm-hmm.
we're going along. So we've been out on the campuses outside, and it actually worked to our advantage because the nurses are way more comfortable talking to us out there
Yeah.
too. They're
I'm
watching
sure.
all the managers and security in the hospital, like with their phones out. It looks like they're recording us, as
Oh, they
trying to
are.
intimidate
They are.
everybody. Yeah, so it actually worked out better being outside. So we do those. They still come give us a hard time though. Like they don't leave us alone just because they're outside. They bring their canine and the security out,
Oh my
and
God. They're
they let them sniff
canine.
around us. Yeah, the canine dogs come out and
What
they
are they
sniff
going to
us.
sniff you
And
to death? What are they there for?
I don't know. They don't like
They're trying to
Wow.
intimidate,
union literature.
obviously. Yeah, trying to
Yeah.
elicit power. Like, oh gosh.
Yeah, so
So
it's still
so
been so bad like that, and then, like, also, like, okay, so we just need to just, get the information out about unionizing because I feel like most of the nurses are gonna be on board once they find out. So
Mhm.
we put together, like this pamphlet I showed you, we have some flyers we put together too, and we gave these to a bunch of different nurses so they can put them in their break rooms, put it on their bulletin boards.
Which you
Um
are legally allowed to do through the National Labor Relations Act.
Right. That's what we were told. So we went ahead and did that, spreading the word. These flyers on these bulletin boards, or even if they're just laying on the break room table, they're gone very quickly.
Mhm.
The managers have probably been told, I'm just assuming they've been told that they don't want these in our break rooms and take them down as soon as you see them because that's what happens. And then they'll just put in an additional, their propaganda up on the bulletin
The
board.
union
Um,
busting flyers,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. I actually laughed out loud when I walked into my break room because like they've been just these little like normal 8 by 11 sheets, and then I come in and there's this huge poster just hanging off the
Oh my
bulletin board.
God.
It's like getting
Pathetic.
ridiculous. It's like they're yelling at us through through the bulletin board now, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is
I have
like
another Florida question because I don't know much. How do they get away with, let's say, you started passing out the information inside the hospital? What do they say that makes it wrong for you guys to be there? And like, what policy does that go against? What is the, how do they get away with that, I guess?
they
You can
actually,
answer
that's a
that.
great question because yeah, it was our non-soliciting policy, and they updated that and revised it once they heard about what's going on. So because they aren't employees there, they can't be on our property handing anything out. And I feel like them just being inside the hospital and like, a non-patient care area, that was a little bit of a gray area because
Yeah.
they weren't passing things out. They were just out there and they would answer questions as needed. But they said that they kind of just put it under the soliciting policy that they couldn't be in there because of that.
But
But
can you, as a nurse,
unions,
pass it out? Can a nurse by herself
Ye-
pass out the
there
information?
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's certain restrictions, right? So, and it gets very complex. Like, you can't do it in patient care areas. The nurses station, like she said, is a gray area. I always tell people just avoid it entirely. There, it's
Mm.
like if you're off the clock, if it's your day off, if you're on a lunch break, if you're clocked out. Like, it gets extremely nuanced. It's all spelled out through the National Labor Relations Act. I personally, what I advise people is to just try to do it outside of work as much as possible, because the employer will manipulate it and they will try to go against the National Labor Relations Act. and just do what they want anyway. And they will claim that you or the union are committing what are they called? Unfair labor practices, that you're not doing it correctly, even when you are,
Hmm.
right?
Right, right. Yeah, they've sent letters to our Teamster reps about not coming on our property. That we've, and then anytime they come back out, they'll send another lengthy letter about, we've asked you not to come out here, and we've seen you out here again, and we need to make sure that you respect our boundaries and that we don't want you near our hospitals.
But they have a
So they'll send
legal
these.
right to be
Yeah,
there, and they
yeah,
know the limitations as the union and when and where they can be. They have a legal right to do that within those limitations. It's
right.
unfortunate.
It
So,
is.
so okay, you kind of reached out to us initially, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk to someone that is currently going through it to really illustrate union busting and what it looks like, and kind of give a face to it, so to speak, right? Because I always talk about it, but it seems like it's probably very abstract. So tell us, if you can, like, just kind of go through what kind of union busting. I know you already mentioned some of them, but like, is there, to your knowledge, a union buster where you are?
Yes, there is.
Before we get into that, we're going to do a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
What are you smelling?
Oh my God, I'm excited already for Christmas time. I
It's
can't get it.
June.
I know, but I'm ready for the holidays based off of this stink bomb odor blocker evergreen. I feel like it's
Oh,
Christmas in a
that's my
bomb.
favorite scent too, the evergreen, but they have like 10 different scents. It's amazing.
I can tell you this is going to be sold out. Evergreen, you better get it today because it's the bee's knees.
Oh, speaking of bees, it's made with real beeswax. And the owner and starter of this company, who's actually an ER nurse, uses real beeswax and donates a portion of sales to the local bee lab.
She does. You can head over today to stinkbombodor.com and use uncorked15 as a code for 15% off. The link is in the description of the podcast.
Jessica, how many overtime shifts do you have to work to afford that next trip?
Oh, we're talking nurse money. I don't know. Sometimes it can be 2 to 3 extra shifts. That's why I love using the Vivian Health app because I can look up short-term contracts and get some extra bank for that little extra cruise I want to take.
Yeah, Vivian actually has a comprehensive salary calculator that lets you compare your pay with the most up-to-date job market data. You'll get monthly updates on your salary expectations based on your discipline, specialty, and location.
I know. I love the app. Complete pay transparency, and you can organize the pay based on highest to lowest paying jobs. It's so easy to use.
You can go to the link in our description for more information.
All right, guys, we're back. We're going to listen to Sarah's response to Erica asking about some of the union busting tactics and what they've had to deal with. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh yeah. So we did a big nurses rally downtown last month, and it seemed to be like right after that is they hired a union buster. So we have a gentleman, I guess I could say, at one of our locations right now,
A
and
gentleman in air quotes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we've seen him, and we caught on pretty quickly because the Teamsters have been kind of preparing us for what to expect next. So
good.
the nurse organizers were able to identify that this wasn't somebody working within the organization, that this was somebody hired outside. He would never tell us his title. Not He wouldn't say his last name. Even like we would straight out ask what his last name is. He wouldn't provide that. He
Wow.
said he gave off vibes like he was an HR or like an executive of some sort, here to just make sure we have all the facts about the union. That he doesn't care if we go one way or the other. He just wants us to know the
Mm,
facts so we can make an educated decision when the time
What a
comes.
nice
But
guy.
right.
but the way, and you were mentioning how much they get paid before.
Mhm.
It's just the way they must get paid that much money because they're just really sneaky about
They're
how they
so
just
good
put
at
doubt
it.
in your head, or yeah, try to just plant a little bit of fear about the union.
It's
But without,
insidious the way that they do it. Insidious.
yeah. So they won't straight out say you don't want to be in a union, but they will say things about like your flexibility will change. but they'll be vague about it. And it's just like the tone
Yeah.
that's there and how they say it, in what kind of setting, with their manager there. A lot of times these are happening in their nursing huddles at the nurses station.
Unbelievable.
That's a yeah, that's
So is
where
the
that's
union
mostly
buster
happening.
coming to the huddles?
Yes, he is coming to
Jesus,
the
can you
huddle.
imagine? Like, no one likes the
Yes.
huddle in the first place. No one has time for the huddle. And by all
Mhm.
means, let's make it a million times worse and longer by bringing in the freaking union buster to your daily shift huddle. Like, is he just going
Yeah.
around unit to unit to unit?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Unreal.
Yes. So
Unreal.
so far he's only been cited at one campus, but we know that more are coming. So we're just trying to prepare the masses, what to expect when this happens. So when it does happen, it's not scary anymore. You can almost like, I kind of want to
Expect
like poke a
it,
little fun at it because
recognize it, and don't
yeah,
fall for it.
that's right. Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. So it's mainly happening at these nurses station huddles. But yeah, we get paged out for them to stop what you're doing to come up to the nurses station for your
Oh,
daily huddles. And we talk about, like patient falls and staffing for the day and, any admissions coming in. And
and
then
oh, by
boom,
the
we got
way,
Sean
unions are
here.
bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, so then he just kind of slides in at the end and he just lays it on thick for, about the union facts and that.
Unreal.
Yeah, yes.
So legally, they cannot threaten or intimidate employees, but this is how they work around it, right? Like I said, they're so insidious. They can share their opinions, right? And this is what management does too, and they're coached by the union busters to do this. So they can say things like, I just can't say what your benefits will be with a union in place, or I'm worried what's going to happen to you if we bring a union in. It's that kind of stuff. Like, it's very insidious. They won't say unions are bad, you can't join a union, because that's blatantly illegal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they'll do
Right,
that kind
right.
of stuff.
Yep, yep. They'll say things like, as they're like approving like a shift switch, a shift swap, I should say. As they're approving that, the manager will be like, I can't do this once you're union. So they've been like extra flexible right now. It seems like too. And it's all very sneaky, like what they're doing here. Just they act like that. The nurses that want to form a union are only doing it because we're senior nurses, so we would probably be high on the seniority list, and we'd have all the holidays off, like that kind of thing. And you just got here, so you're going to have to work every holiday. Like they flat out said this to new people that have told me
Wow.
this. Yeah, so just a lot about and then the union dues too. They really talk about the union dues.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
big
They
one.
even have a yeah, so for us, it's 2.5 times your wage per month. But it's gonna be well
Your
worth it. What
hourly wage.
our hourly wage, yes, 2.5 times our hourly wage per month. And they make it the biggest deal ever. And I could see how that could be a little unsettling to some nurses if they don't really fully understand what the union can do for them. But the big picture here is that union due we're paying for isn't going to be anything compared to all the compensation we're going to get from this contract that we're going to
It's
work out.
not. I mean, do the math. So if you're making $30 an hour, okay, and it's 2.5 times your hour, so that is what, $75 per month, right? Did I do the right
Mm-hmm.
math? $75
Yep. Yep.
per month. That's it, right? And one of the things they'll do is they'll say, like, well, they'll add up what it is for the year. It's going to cost you
They have.
$700 a
Yep.
year.
They
But what they
have.
won't tell you is that with the union, you're going to be earning 500 more per month or whatever, so like you're absolutely coming out ahead, not to mention all the other benefits. Yeah. But they
Well,
like to say
yeah.
that unions are just greedy. They're just trying to make money off of you. They're a business too. Well, they are a
Mm-hmm.
business. They have employees. They have to pay for, power and water and office space and that kind of stuff. But what I always tell people is, have you ever seen a rich union boss? Because I haven't. But how
Yeah.
many rich C-suite employees have you seen? Literally
Right.
all of them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They really do lay it on thick with the union dues, though, and a lot of nurses buy it. because they say, you know what, where I'm working, it's not that bad. Like there are place nurses that are actually happy where they're working, sure, so they don't see why we would have to pay union dues. They put a union dues calculator on our intranet. So they have a
Oh
whole
my
section there
God.
about the truth about the Teamsters that you can click on, and they made it like a bright neon green, like a hyperlink you could click on, and it has all these flyers, their propaganda all there. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of them at this point.
What are they saying
Um,
about the
and
Teamsters? I'm curious.
that they are, a warehouse and trucking organization, a union for trucking and warehouse employees. So why would we want them to be, with us in
Okay,
healthcare?
okay.
Um,
So they do represent healthcare workers. Like, first of
they
all,
do.
did they start
Yeah.
as a trucking union? I think so. I don't honestly don't know, but they do represent
Yeah.
all sorts of different employers. But the name alone, like, elicits respect and fear, right? Like, the last thing an employer wants to hear is Teamsters. They want to hear like literally any other union would be better than Teamsters. But Jessica and I have a Teamsters story because I drug her to her
I
first
drug
nursing
her.
strike in Rochester, New York, and I told you, remember, now you know all this stuff, but at the time you didn't. And I'm like, here's the goal: if it's a really good
Mm-hmm.
strike, there's going to be Scabby the rat,
Mm-hmm.
and the Teamsters truck at some point is going to drive by and lay on the horn.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, okay, a truck, but tell them what it is, what it's like.
Okay. First of all, my recollection might be different than Erica's, but I just I just remember this huge truck and a bunch of motorcycles and loud power, and like it was like the energy there went from a good energy level to like 1,000 times stronger. Like
Yeah,
everybody was so excited.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like freedom, like America, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
it just is such a strong feeling of like support is the best way that I can explain it. Like you almost feel like safer when they show up. Like they've got
Yeah,
your back. You know what I mean? Like it was just
Hmm.
such a cool thing because everybody was clapping and excited, and more people were laying on the horn, and their horn is loud. It's a
and
loud.
it's massive truck and it's so
Yeah.
loud. And that wasn't even the
And wait,
union
don't
there where
wait,
the
I didn't
strike
finish.
was.
Well, there was
Okay.
hot men too. There was hot men flying
So-
off of the truck. I don't know if there's hot men everywhere around the country, but at the strike that I was at, I just remember motorcycle men. And I told Eric I was going to hop on the back of one and fly away.
Just
But
right away, huh?
yeah, just right away into the Teamster
Yeah,
sunset. But no,
They
it
were
was a
there
really
just to
cool thing.
support. It wasn't even that
Yeah.
union that was on strike. They
oh
just came to
Okay.
yeah, that's
support.
awesome.
It was
Yeah.
really, really cool. Yeah. So
That's really awesome.
I
Yeah, we
I,
had
I
they
liked
did a
it.
big rally for us downtown Detroit for to support our union campaign, and it was great. It was that same very empowering feeling that they're going to be here for us. They have our backs, and
Yeah.
it's just it's all the good feels, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So, I wanted to ask you, do you have any idea what the union buster or busters where you are getting paid?
I do. I do. And I only know this because I work with some awesome nurses for this campaign. And once they figured out his first name and that he was a union buster, they were able to go down the research rabbit hole on Google and find out all this information about him, including his contract, where he is making $425 an hour.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. I got it right here.
Allegedly, but look,
Allegedly.
there's the
Allegedly.
contract right in front of us in black and white, but allegedly the
Yeah.
union buster's getting 400. Okay, and how long has he
Yeah,
been there
if I
now?
were him, I would talk really slow. Hello.
Right, right.
I'm no last name Chad, and I'm here to
Yeah,
answer any questions you might have.
seriously.
Yeah.
Um, and I hear these union busters are like union organizers that were, that didn't make the cut or they left, they got disgruntled or something. So they do have some inside information, but they
Yeah,
just didn't hack it in the the union world. So now they've taken this role
sometimes.
on. Yeah,
because they knew
that's
they could make more money. Yeah. You know what? That's
mhm.
interesting. There's a book that if you're interested in this, everybody needs to get. And it's called Confessions of a Union Buster by Martin J. Levitt. It was written in like 1990 something. I think it's actually out of print, but you can find it on Amazon, like used. Okay. This is the literal Bible to union busting. So this
Mm.
guy spent over 20 years as a union buster, and he was good at it. And he says, I destroyed thousands of lives. And at some point it hit him, he had a reckoning, and he changed his ways, and he started speaking about what they do as union busters. He exposed the entire industry essentially and put it into this book. And he says things like, when you have money and power to use people's fear against them, you can get them to do anything. And that's true, right? He said, union busting is a field populated by bullies and built on deceit. A campaign against a union is an assault on workers and a war on truth. The only way to bust a union is to lie, distort, manipulate, threaten, and attack.
Wow.
That
How
Yeah.
checks.
brave of
Yeah.
him at
Yeah.
least to have a come to Jesus moment or whatever you want to call it, at least, and tell the truth and try to expose it a little bit, you know?
I think there's a YouTube clip with him in there
There
too.
is. I was going to say
Yeah,
there is some
yeah.
old YouTube clips from an old speech that he gave a long time ago. I think he's passed away now. And I heard
Mm,
they're making his book into a movie. So I don't know
that
when
would
Oh,
be
that's going to
good.
be
cool.
out, but I'm going to be there opening night if it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
out.
definitely.
Yeah, cuz that
Erica,
was eye-opening.
I think this is a good time to do the problem of the week. Problem of the week. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
we're just gonna we're just changing gears here for a couple minutes,
All
guys.
right.
All right. So somebody reached out and wrote us a letter, as they often do, and asked if we would cover this on Nurses on Court. So here we are. Hi, I'm a new grad and I need help. I'm trying to pull together information to show the danger of giving a nurse too many patients, as that has been happening at the hospital I work at. It's a small rural hospital and they use an acuity tool. I'm scared for my patients and my license, but I can't change jobs due to a 6-month hold. As in, I can't switch hospitals or units until 6 months are up. I'm at a loss and it makes me not want to be a nurse if this is how it's going to be. I transferred from the larger hospital to the rural one they acquired closer to home, thinking that the nursing union and policies still applied. Any advice or articles you know of or help that you can give me?
That's so hard and yet so
That makes me
common,
sad. That
unfortunately.
makes me sad.
Yeah. Um and the thing is, like, she's new, right? Are they going to retaliate against her illegally if she starts doing this? Probably. But, that's the fight that we have to do. And always remind people that retaliation for reporting safety concerns like unsafe staffing is illegal, and you can report that to the NLRB and to OSHA. But if I were going to research this, I would start with Dr. Linda Aiken. She is in Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's University of Pennsylvania, but one of the universities there. And she has for like 20 years she's a nurse. She has done all of the research. She has all of these statistics. She's published numerous things, like the whole for every additional patient that a nurse is forced to take above the recommended ratio for that specialty, the
Mm-hmm.
risk of serious complication or death goes up by 7% per patient, you know? So I
Yeah.
would start there. Dr. Linda Aiken in Pennsylvania. She is a great resource. Google any of her stuff if you're looking to really bring in like facts and evidence-based stuff. But, it also is like collective. You got to stick together with your fellow employees, because if you're the one person, they're going to retaliate.
So, did the union policies and stuff vary from hospital to hospital? Do they change slightly? Is that typical?
It
That part I
can. It
wasn't
depends on
understanding.
the individual collective bargaining agreement. So whatever that facility voted on, yeah, it
Oh,
can
so be
it can
careful then
differ.
before you switch facilities, I guess, and make sure that you know what all the differences are, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Because
every employee is entitled to access or a copy of their contract, their union contract. And it might be online somewhere. Just ask the union, ask if you can get a copy, but you're entitled to it. So yeah, know it, refer to it, study it.
and I'm guessing she signed a 6-month contract of some sort. Something says that once you take a position, you have to at least go 6 months before you switch to something else
Yeah.
or
Normally it's a
leave.
year.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
surprised
6
it's
months.
only 6 months.
Yeah, you're right in saying that, but that was really good though. I mean, at least if she can get some statistics and some backing on, um, you were saying, what is it from Pennsylvania? The
Dr. Linda Aiken. Yeah,
Okay,
she's a
Dr.
nurse with
Linda.
PhD that has been studying staffing, the effects of staffing ratios on nursing and patient outcomes for like 20 years.
Well, I would say to this new grad, good luck. And I'm sorry that you're discouraged already. It's sad. It's sad that in nursing, you have all these hopes and dreams of that it's going to be great, and then you're not even 6 months in and you're crushed. It shouldn't be that way, and it sucks. But at least kudos to you for being strong and trying to reach out and trying to educate yourself and seeing if you can make some kind of change or make something
Yeah.
different. So I hope that helped answer it a little bit. If not, reach back out to us, and Erica can talk again. Right here, right,
Okay.
Erica?
Sure.
Erica will find you some more articles. I don't know. Um, yeah. So if anybody else has any problems they'd like to submit to us, you can always write us nursesuncorked at nursesuncorked.com, and we do one just about every week. So where do we
No,
leave
it's a
Yeah.
off?
good one because,
Yeah.
it's a good one to kind of bring in because we're hoping that like other nurses in other states, across the country are going to see our huge organization unionize and say, you know what? It is possible. You can do it, and see how much better we are after we do unionize.
Hmm.
So we're hoping that we actually, reach these baby nurses, in orientation and change their future too. So it's way bigger than just me or one nurse, not happy about our wage or something. Like we're trying to
Yeah.
really improve healthcare in Michigan. So it comes down to those new nurses too. We want them to stay. We don't want them to, get their year or two in the hospital and then leave, So we got to make it like a job that you can actually, a career, a profession that you can stay in, and bring some of these nurses back that have left since COVID. So
Absolutely.
I
yeah.
will
And
say one problem we're not getting is I don't have nurses writing us in saying I hate my union. My union
yeah, right?
sucks. Can you
Yeah.
please?
Mhm.
I mean, I have not personally have not gotten one of those come across in all the years I've been on social media, but so that's got to say something about
Yeah.
unions. But
And just ask yourself, why would the company be so afraid for you to have a union? Why would they spare no expense and go to such great lengths to keep a union out? Right?
Right.
Because it's in the
It's
employee's best interest to have a union, you know?
and not
right.
the hospital's financial pocket best
Yeah.
interest.
Now, one way that I think unions could improve on, and I don't know with your union that you're working with, hopefully they're not, but I think sometimes they don't spend enough time preparing people for the union busting. Like, you really need to sit employees down and say, this is what it is, this is what it can look like, so that when you come across it, because it's not if, it's when, you will recognize it immediately. You will, in your mind at least, say, oh, there it is, that's the union busting, and you
Mm-hmm.
won't fall for it. You preemptively are prepared. Sometimes unions don't do enough of that, and so employees do fall for it. They do, because like I said, the union busters are exceptional at what they do, you know? So what are you guys doing? Have you done anything to help prepare the other
Yeah.
employees?
We've I can say like they have been really good with educating us about what's going to happen next, the next phase of the union. They were warning
Good.
us about the union buster before he ever set foot here,
Good.
letting us know like the vibe of it all. And they're not in here like shaking their finger, don't be in a union, but they're more sneaky than that. So they've been really good about just educating the group of nurse organizers that we all communicate on regularly. But also we have a huge Facebook group too called Corewell United. Come on and join it if you're a Corewell nurse. But
Is
they
it a
go live.
private group?
Yeah, it's a private group. So we try
Okay.
to, we make sure that they're not with management so
Yeah,
people
because
feel comfortable
they will
talking.
sneak in there. They will if you're not
Yeah,
careful.
yeah. It's so gross, really. Like they'll try to get in there just to get some intel or send another nurse in there so they can, give them the dirt for them, the next day. But what I was saying was, yeah, our Teamster reps have been really great with preparing us. They go and do these live Facebooks within our Facebook group community,
Nice.
and sometimes they'll just do like Q&As, or sometimes they'll have an agenda of what they want to talk about. When they know like things are about to ramp up, like after the rally, they knew that they were going to do whatever they had to do, the hospital. So they kind of like did a live Facebook, warned us about what's going to happen. And yeah, I think that is a very important piece here, because we've got such momentum, and it would be a shame for a union buster to come in here and just totally derail us, because you caught them off guard. So it is scary, so they do believe them. So I think it's really important that as long as we educate everyone about it, then we take the fear out of it. And they're not going to be so easily manipulated the next time one of them try to pull
Absolutely.
them away to do a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, you don't even know this, but well, you know part of this. But we initially, when we planned this podcast, we were going to have two nurses on, you and someone from a completely different organization, different state, everything that is also in the process of organizing their union. Because I thought, it'd be nice to have two people that are probably going to tell the same story, because union busting has been the same since the dawn of time. They're using the same tired book, they haven't changed it at all. And the reason that the second person is not here is I'm very, very sad to report that the union busting at their organization was so prolific that it was successful, and they have given up their fight.
Chad.
That's
Chad
too
won.
bad. Yeah.
Frickin' Chad.
They had numerous union busters getting paid obscene amounts of money, and they were not able to get enough employees to sign the union cards to move forward.
It's so
Oh,
frustrating. That's very
So when I
frustrating.
tell you they're good
yeah.
at it, they are good at it. You think you're just like, you have common sense and you're going to see it for what it is and you're not going to fall for it. I have personally witnessed this. Intelligent people get manipulated. They fall for the scare tactics and the fear mongering because these are master manipulators. So don't fall for it. Expect it, recognize it, don't fall for it. I'm going to keep saying that
Yes.
Yeah,
so
Yes.
if you're educated about it ahead of time, I think that definitely will help people better prepare for what the hospital's going to try to do. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. That's why this podcast was important to do, because somebody else may hear this later
Yeah.
down the road, and they're trying to organize a union, and they're going to ahead of time know this is going to be coming. We're going to see a Chad.
yeah,
We're going to see a
Yeah.
Bob
Yeah.
or a
with
Karen.
no last name and
Yeah.
no title.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah. I mean, they found all the info on that Union Buster too.
I love
It's
it.
good.
I
They
love it.
found a little video of him talking about contracts and why they're good for people. It's like the best video we found. So we advertised that. He was talking about the new year. So don't do a new year resolution, do a new year contract. And then he went into this whole spiel about how contracts are great because you have them in writing. We just ran with that. And yeah, we found him on
Wow.
LinkedIn and all this other stuff. So I think that this is very important that we're doing this. And I'm very happy you guys are having me on here to talk about this stuff, because it isn't, if you've never been in a union or you're not from a union family, you don't really know the benefits. So when a union
Right.
buster comes in and tells you these things, or you read this flyer from, your corporate organization saying,
Mm-hmm.
that the Teamsters aren't going to be able to do what we say they're going to do, like you're just going to believe it. You don't know any better. And I feel so strongly about it, because when I was a nurse at another hospital, we found out that they were trying to unionize there. This was years ago, before COVID. Everything's pre or post COVID with me.
Right.
So this was pre-COVID, and I was naive. I was young and naive back then. I didn't know better, and I fell for their manipulation. I
Yeah.
did. I had a manager come and approach me at one-on-one that I actually liked. She wasn't my manager. We called her the sister unit manager, so she covered a lot of the times. And she went but one by one and talked to all of us. And I really, it came off like she was just being a pal, like she was just being a
Yeah.
friend. And
Yeah.
oh, I don't know why anyone would want to pay all these union dues. Like they're always really heavy with the union dues. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Like, why would we want to unionize? And like I just ate it up because I didn't know any better. So
Yeah.
now that I do know better, I want to help those baby nurses, those new people that don't know better. I want to help them. So like just save them the trouble. Get them educated so they
Or
don't
not only that,
witness
but
that.
even some of the seasoned nurses that don't like rustling
Yeah,
feathers, some of those nurses that have
right.
been there for so
That
long
we're
and it
always
makes
taught
them
unions are bad.
uncomfortable. Yeah,
Yeah.
or you respect your management. You don't, you do what they tell you to do, and but there oftentimes is a better way. There can be great good, and what I would say to that is, yeah, you're hearing union dues, but how much is this union saving you in
Yeah.
money, in
Exactly.
better
And
health insurance?
negotiating more
Yes,
raises and wage
right.
Yes.
increases. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
that's the part that they need to understand the comparison, not just, oh, dues, but look at
And
all the stuff you're going to get from it. I mean,
and just
it's
having that job protection and having, some
Wine
control
garden
back.
rights.
Like we need this job protection here. That alone, like take my money for the dues, please.
Exactly. Priceless.
Right
Take my
now they
money.
can
Take my money
yeah,
for the
there you
wine
go.
garden rights alone.
Yeah.
Take it.
So like because what they're doing right now, they're closing units. They're letting people go still. They're doing all these things. They can turn around and close a unit and let go a dozen nurses tomorrow, and nobody can say anything
right,
about it
right.
because we're not in a union.
Yeah.
So people need to understand that they right now they can do whatever they want and they will do whatever they want. And if we don't unionize, they're going to make sure that they get every penny back they paid for this Sean guy, the union buster afterwards, and all these promises they've been telling us this whole time through this campaign. It's going to be crickets after that, just like it was
Yeah.
before we started unionizing. So yeah, it's a lot to handle, but we are very strong and we are resilient. We will
Yeah.
take that from the organization, and but we're resilient in a different way because we're not going to give up with this. We're going to keep fighting.
That's good.
I have a list of some of the most common union busting tactics, and I thought we would just go through it, and you can say yay or nay.
Yeah,
Have you seen this
Oh,
happening?
this is a fun game. I want to.
it's kind of like
Like
a
a
game.
game.
Yeah.
It should be a drinking game. Like we could take a shot
Yeah,
every
there you
time she
go.
says yes. I've seen that.
Erica, we
I'll
want you
take
to
a
have
sip.
a
I'll
sip
do
of
that.
your and you with your whiskey sour. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I got it. I got it here. Okay. In no particular order. The management will threaten that the union is just going to start showing up at your home anytime they want because they now have your personal information.
Let me take a drink because yes,
Yay or nay?
yes,
Drink.
Yay.
Oh,
yay.
oh boy, we're
Expect
already
it,
1 for 1.
recognize it, don't fall for it. I have yet to ever see a union show up to someone's home. The only scenario I can think of that happening is if they are part of like a political canvassing thing prior
Yeah.
to an election, but then that's no different than anyone else canvassing door to door. That
The
just
most
doesn't happen.
Yeah. The most they're going to do is they're going to be making calls out to some of the nurses that have signed the cards. And we call that, like hardening up the cards or scrubbing the cards.
That's normal.
And they're touching base. They want to make sure we have their yes vote. And if you have any questions or concerns, but we're not calling them nonstop. If they don't answer the phone, we leave a message and that's that. We're not going to
Right.
knock on their door. Can you imagine doing that? Like knocking on
No.
someone's door in this day and age? Like that's a thing of the
No.
past, but they are making it scary where like they don't want to sign the card because they don't want to put their address on there because the
Because
Teamsters
the
could be knocking
union, the
at their
big
door in the
scary
middle of the night.
union is going to be at their
Yeah,
door at 2 a.m. Like it's so
right.
absurd. It is.
It is really.
Expect it, recognize it, don't fall for it. Okay. They threaten that they're going to have to close the hospital, their doors, units. They're going to have to close certain amount of beds because they just won't be able to afford what the union is going to make them pay. Have you come across that?
Yeah, I want to add to that. So they aren't really saying they're going to be closing hospitals or units, but they are saying that certain nursing positions won't have a role here anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys use the term contingent nurses or per diem,
Hmm.
those PRN nurses that
Yes.
pick up shifts, and they're a huge asset to them. We need those nurses so we
Yeah.
can be fully staffed. But they are coming at them that there's going to be no spot for them when we're a union, that they're all going to be let go. We even have nurses, we call it the flex pool. So
Mm-hmm.
they cover multiple different campuses. And they're saying that, oh, well, why would we need you if you're in a union? It doesn't make sense. If you actually think about it, it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Being a union, why would we need a flex nurse or not?
Right.
They went so far to, I just have to add this in, and this is, they sent letters to all the contingent nurses on Nurses Week
To their
saying
home.
to their
Oh,
home.
that's on the list. That's on the list. Take a
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
Oh
Right,
my
right.
gosh, another one
But
already.
they sent it to just the contingent nurses, and they made it seem like I don't know the exact verbiage, but I'm sending this to you because you need to know this. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
happy Nurses Week. Second of all, you're not going to have a job anymore when you unionize because you're a contingent nurse. Have a great Nurses Week,
Happy
sign
Nurses
the
Week.
CEO.
Happy
Yeah, so
Nurses
Wow.
Week. We're gonna scare the shit out of you on
Yeah.
Nurses Week.
yeah,
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
It's not
One
true
of the
Wonderful.
either.
things they
Yeah.
do is they will mail like snail mail letters and multiple. So imagine how much they're spending on postage to each individual employee's home, and also trying to like reach their family so they could perhaps have outward pressure from the family members, because they've ignored your concerns for years, right? But now suddenly they're concerned, right? Expect it,
It
recognize it, don't fall for it.
yes.
Okay. What about you're never going to be allowed to talk to your manager ever again with a union?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay,
Is
another
Yay.
everybody
one.
taking a second?
Yay. Yes. A big yes on that one. You won't be able to talk to your manager unless you have a union steward present. You're not going to be able to just go in there and voice your concern like you are right now. We have these great relationships right now, or I have an open door policy, but once we're a union, you won't be able to come
Can
in
I
and
just
talk
say
to
that
me.
actually sounds amazing?
Which part?
Why is this a bad thing? You have to talk to your manager and sign me up. Sign me up for the union. I
Right?
mean, I know that that's exaggerated, but that it doesn't.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
like your manager, that sounds great.
Right.
It's
Right. It could work
actually
for you.
completely false. I as someone who has been a manager and a staff nurse in a union hospital, I can tell you firsthand that is absolutely not true. In fact, if you just go running to the union with some kind of issue, the first thing they're going to say is, "Well, have you tried to talk to your manager yet?" Because that's like the
Right.
first obvious way to deal with something, right? That we expect you to do
Mm-hmm.
as a grown up. So that is just categorically false. Okay.
Hmm.
Um Delay and stall. You might not be at this point yet in your organizing campaign, but they will find loopholes in the law to delay the union elections or the contract negotiations, and they will skew the numbers. So if you have to have a certain percentage of people signing cards in order to file for a union election, they will start strategically saying, "Oh, this employee doesn't count, and this employee can't be counted in the total number because maybe they're part-time, they're not, whatever." They will just start strategically playing with the numbers so that you can never move forward with the election. And honestly, they know they're breaking the law, but it's a calculated risk. They're willing to take that risk because the overarching win for them would be to keep the union out, right? So you haven't
Right.
had that one
Right.
yet, right?
Nope,
Not
we're
yet.
close, but we haven't filed for election yet, so we
Well,
haven't come across
expect
that
it,
yet. But they have been
recognize it,
telling it,
and don't fall for it.
yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying is those numbers are going to be going towards the labor board, right? The ones that they'll be playing with, saying like part-time
Yes.
nurses won't, so they are delaying it and trying to manipulate the numbers of nurses, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Very
yeah,
common.
they've been doing that more with us. Like, oh, you're a salary nurse, you're non-exempt, you're not going to be included, or the part-time contingent thing. So they've been saying it verbally to a lot of us in the hospital,
Hmm.
but We'll be prepared for that.
Another one that you should prepare for is a very last minute surprise. So you will finally file for the election. The election is going to be Wednesday, and suddenly Tuesday afternoon, they are going to drop some bombshell thing against the union. Okay. Specifically because there won't be enough time for the union to respond before the election.
Oh, this
And
is a
it's going to
sneaky
be
one.
huge damage, right? And so all these people that are on the fence are going to be like, oh my God, no. Expect
What, like
it,
see.
recognize
Okay.
it, don't
the
fall for
lead
it.
teamster used to be a stripper and
Yeah, like
should
whatever,
not
some
should
stupid
not
thing.
be yeah, like what are they
It's,
just try to pull some garbage or something bad about
it
somebody,
seems so
or
desperate. I don't know.
that's
Yeah.
awful. That's
Yeah.
I don't like
Captive
that
audience
either.
meetings. Have you had those yet? The mandatory meetings. Yes?
So, we've talked about that offline, Erica, that there's a little bit of a gray area with me and understanding the captive audience thing, because in my head, right now, they're doing corporate orientation, and they've dedicated a chunk of time to do this, anti-union propaganda, upwards to like 45 minutes, I heard. But they
Wow.
do
Yeah.
have a little line they say in the beginning that you are allowed to leave if you want to leave. So you
But
told me that,
here's
because of that,
45
it's
minutes of
awful.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah, it's
thank
awful, but not
goodness.
illegal.
Jeez.
Um, the huddles though, those are more mandatory, and they're
Yeah.
not really giving us opportunities to leave.
Right.
And then just the one-on-one rounding with management, that kind of thing, is
That's one of
happening.
them. Yeah. And of course, they
Yeah,
never say you have to come to a captive audience meeting. It's like, this is a
right.
mandatory meeting. There are no exceptions. We're going to talk about your benefits or the future, or, make no mistake, these are captive audience meetings, whatever form they take. They are union busters in the meeting, whatever they call themselves, and they are going to manipulate you and your coworkers no matter how much you think they won't. Expect it, recognize it, don't fall for it. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one of my favorites that I think is the most egregious. Okay. They will recruit employees to do their dirty work for them. Have you
Ew.
seen that yet? Yep. We're taking a
Yes,
sip.
yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
so they get an employee that's kind of on their side almost, so that
Yeah.
then
So
they are
it could
okay.
it could be like an employee that has typically been like politically opposed to unions and been verbal about it. It could be a friend of someone in management, or it could be like the one-off person that had
Brown nosing Brenda the
yeah,
brown noser.
exactly. The one-off person that had a bad experience with a union, 15 years ago. But basically, they are puppets that they know they can manipulate. They will very often promise them that they will be rewarded somehow on the back end, like with a
Oh
promotion or
yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
are very good at buttering them up and saying, we just want to talk to you. You have such a good dialogue with your coworkers. You're really, you're so involved on the unit. We just want to make sure you understand, so maybe you can help them understand. So now you're taking the illegal and intimidating activities away from the employer. It's very smart on their part.
Yeah.
And they are getting a puppet, pathetic, easily manipulated employee to do their dirty work for them. And they will be their spy. They will listen and watch everything around
Ew.
them. And they will be the ones trying to just constantly in your ear about why unions are bad. It's
Yes, yes, yes.
it's pitiful.
100% yes. I
I
drink
feel
on
like
that
this
one
would be
because it
like a
happens.
reality
Yeah.
show. They need to like
It
follow
should
this
be.
whole right? Like, I
Yeah.
I
mean, there's
feel like it
so
is
much like
sometimes.
behind the scenes drama going on with this. It's like so
Yeah.
catty.
It is.
It
It,
is.
it could really truly be a reality show. In fact, that's a good
Mhm.
idea. I don't know why someone hasn't done that yet.
I
Netflix.
mean,
Oh,
seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it sounds very
Okay.
entertaining.
yeah.
Here's one of my other favorites. They will just tell you to, we kind of touched on it before, like tell you to wait and see. They're going to temporarily improve conditions, like staffing is going to suddenly be better. You might get a small raise. And then when the union talk kind of dies down, it eventually goes right back to the way it was, because that is not enforceable. But they will very often be like, look, we just need 6 months. If you can just give us 6 months, especially after you have already filed for the union vote and they know when it's going to be. And so the union vote is January 15th, and they will say, just give us till April. It's always after the vote. Just give us till April. We just need till April to get all these things, and we're going to take care of you guys. Don't worry. Just wait. Just give us time.
Liars.
Yeah, we got to drink to that one too. They do that. It reminds me of like a
recognize
boyfriend
it,
or
don't
something.
fall for it. Oh, it's like an abusive relationship. It absolutely is. Think about it. An abusive partner is the same one that's like, just give me another chance. Just wait and see. I can make it better. We can change things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally
Actions speak louder than words, though. That's what I would tell my boyfriend if I was trying to get out. Actions speak way louder, and all they got for us right now is words. So, it's really, people buy it though. They keep saying. With us, I mentioned the benefits. They promised their benefits are going to improve, that we're going to have better health insurance in 2025 because they listened. That's the big one that they've been saying. And it makes people think though. They've been doing a lot of updates about what they've been doing in the facilities, like fixing the equipment, or we've had an elevator that's been broken for like 6 months. They finally fixed it and they made it a big hype thing. We fixed the elevator.
Look what we did just for you guys.
Wow. Way to bend over backwards for us. That's amazing.
We're going to be getting all new printers soon. They told us we're getting all new printers soon. That was another one, because we always have printer issues. Like every printer in the hospital, I think, is broken right now.
Right.
So
suddenly the units are going to have the bladder scanners suddenly in every unit.
Oh, yeah.
A bladder scanner.
Yeah. Sure they are.
Love that.
And then some of the others we really already touched on, and you confirmed that it's happening allegedly, which is saying that, the union's just greedy. They just want your money with the dues, and they're going to hire a union buster, and they're going to coach supervisors to hold the one-on-one meetings and all of that. Those are the most common ones. Yeah. Have you come across any others that we didn't mention?
Let's see. I mean, really, it's just a lot of trying to make sure we can't hand out our literature to people on campus, or leaving it in the break rooms or on the bulletin boards. They've gone so far to put badge accesses on the break room doors, so we can't do that anymore. If we're not from that unit, we're not able to get into that break room.
Oh, Jesus.
So I feel like that's a big one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But they can afford that. They can afford adding the extra badge things on every freaking door.
Right. Yeah.
But they can barely afford printers.
Right.
Interesting.
And then they've kicked us off the campus when we were doing these days, trying to get the word out on campus. We would sometimes bring in yard signs. So we have these beautiful, Corewell nurses are strong enough to be Teamsters. And there's these, normal yard signs, or nothing too big. But they had a fit when we brought those in. Like, they said that they are going to be weapons. So, the little posting that you put into the yard. Yeah, they said that we have psych patients here, and I got Dave showing me one right now. These right here.
Oh yeah. Those are a lethal weapon for sure.
So
definitely.
They said a psych patient might get it and use it as a weapon, and it was like the only reason that we couldn't have them there is because it's going to be a weapon. And I thought that was a really big stretch.
What they're gonna pluck it up off the yard and sneak in a metal.
Sneak it into the psych unit.
And this, multiple times at different campuses.
Maybe
they
if
ran
they had
with
metal detectors and stuff and did things the way they were supposed
Seriously.
to, then that wouldn't happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Expect it, recognize it, don't fall for it. That's really the takeaway for anyone listening is, the union busting is going to happen. It's inevitable. It might look like this. It might look a little different, but it's absolutely going to happen. And your coworkers will fall for it. Expect it, recognize it, don't fall for it. And sign the effing cards. For the love of God, Just sign the cards. Now, I have no idea where you guys are at in your, because, different unions want different percentages and stuff, but that is the first step. And what we find is that employees very often will say like, hey, I'm ready to vote. I'll vote for the union when it gets to the election, but I'm not going to sign the card because I'm afraid it's going to get back to management and I'll be retaliated against.
What's the card? What is the card? Please explain.
It's a union interest card.
Oh, interest. Okay. I got you.
So we need so many of those to file with the NLRB, the labor board, so we can actually have an election to vote in the union.
I see.
So they make it sound like it's very damning if you sign these cards, that it's illegal.
You're signing your life away. Yeah, it's irrevocable, which is a lie. That's not true at all. You can, if you change your mind after you sign it, which is not real common, but you can absolutely just contact the union and say, tear up my card. I don't want it anymore. That's absolutely not true. You're not signing away.
We've had that happen many times where they say, well, we'll vote yes, but we don't want anything to do with that card, just in case we don't become a union, because there's been talk about that the organization's going to get a list of everybody that signed if we don't unionize. And that they made it sound
that's not true,
like a threat, more or less, and it is absolutely not true.
That is not
would be
true.
Completely illegal. So,
and you're never going to get an election if you guys don't do the first step. You can't run before you walk. Right? Like you have to sign the card to get the union. Yeah, it enrages me. Like we're literally
Erica,
talking
you're
about
scaring the shit out of me.
Because I love her passion. For so many years. Like we're literally talking about just putting your signature on a fucking card. Like that's it. Like it's so minimal. And all it is saying is that you are interested in holding the election. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And nurses are so cowardly that they will not sign a card to simply have it's not saying you will be unionized. It's saying you would be interested in having the election to vote on it. And imagine
you better sign that card. Erica's coming after you.
Yeah, we'll bring you up to campus.
I would love to. I would love to, because it enrages me. The utter audacity. The last time I was approached by a union to sign a card, it was many, many years ago. And they would, like, 3 of them were coming up to me, and you could tell they had their spiel ready. Like they were ready to have the fight, to convince me.
I got you.
And they said 3 words, and I'm like, do you have a pen? Like, give it to me. Like, here you go. Right away. Like, say sign, go on. Yeah.
Yep. So we are just trying to educate everyone so they will sign a card and that they're not going to be changed to a no vote when these union busters approach them. But we are very close to filing. Just a few percentage of the way, and then we're going to file the vote. So with over 8,000 of us, we're going to be our own nurses local. We're saying for nurses by nurses.
Love it.
And we're going to have a lot of power in that. Just being our own local alone is going to be a huge game changer for us.
The Teamsters behind you, like, hello.
Yeah, we got our Teamsters. Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
They've been standing by our side this whole time, and they've just been so supportive too.
That's
been great. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be watching to see what happens there with Corewell Health, whatever the name of the hospital was. I don't know.
Right.
Corewell Health in Beaumont University Hospital.
That one. Got it.
Yeah. We're going to be watching. Nurses, please sign your cards wherever you are, anywhere. Sign the cards when they approach you, and expect the union busting, recognize it, and don't fall for it. That's the takeaway.
And don't complain if you're not willing to change. I just made that up. You like that?
Good.
Yeah,
right.
Because the complainers are probably the ones that aren't signing the card. So
if
you're not willing to do something about it, right? Then we don't want to hear you complain no more. As I'm eating an Uncrustable right now.
Another thing is
eating an Uncrustable. She couldn't wait till we were done recording. Mind you, she had soup right before we recorded.
I'm hungry. Erica, do we have an enema before we wrap things up with Sarah?
We do have an enema, yes. This is Piedmont Health in Georgia. This is something they are pushing newly hired employees to sign as
Oh,
a
God.
condition of being hired. Okay. Oh, it just makes me so mad. Okay. I hereby release and forever discharge Piedmont, as well as its respective officers, directors, trustees, employees, and agents from any and all liability and damages arising out of any personal injury, illness, or disease, including death or damage or loss of property arising out of my affiliation or association with the company. And I certify and attest that my health insurance will cover any medical and hospital expense that I may incur during the course of my affiliation or association with Piedmont. I understand and agree that in no event will any medical and or hospital expenses resulting from my work with Piedmont be covered under the company's workers' comp insurance. They're telling them to sign away their right to use workers' comp for a workplace injury, and that they will never be able to sue or hold the company liable no matter what any given situation.
What the actual fuck?
It's outrageous.
Can you do that? How can they
I don't think that they can, because workers' comp is normally a statutory right. So usually these kind of things are not going to hold up in court if it's contrary to public policy. I don't know specifically for Georgia, but the fact that they are even trying to get employees to sign this is outrageous. So this week's Enema of the Week award goes to Piedmont Health in Georgia.
I hope you get frothy diarrhea, Piedmont, and it just keeps. I hope the enema upsets your stomach for hours on end.
Like, yeah, they might need 2 enemas because they're full of shit. Huh?
That's right.
Yeah, that is. I wouldn't sign that.
Soap suds and milk and molasses.
Oh man, yeah.
Take that, Piedmont. You
take that.
fuckers.
I love that we could eat while we're talking about enemas too. It's such a nurse thing.
We're nurses,
this is
right?
delicious, by the way.
I have the Daves over here cringing just from the word enema.
Yeah,
we're like snacking.
This jelly in here's never tasted better.
We need Smucker's Uncrustables to sponsor us, because Jessica eats an Uncrustable at least after or during every freaking episode.
They're so
like
good.
You probably need stock in that company.
They bring me such comfort. They're really good. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, she needs to get paid for eating that right now.
Totally. Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us and for having courage to do the things and talk about the things that so many nurses don't. And we will be watching and rooting for you guys there.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for having me to shed light on this. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Everybody sign the cards. Sign the damn
Sign the cards, please. We're almost there. We're almost there. Sign them. You won't pay a union due until after we all vote on the contract as well.
That's right.
So you're not paying any union dues until we all vote on the contract. And it'll be well worth our money. So sign those cards, guys.
If not, Erica's going to do another podcast and yell at you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time on the next Nurses Uncorked.